Hello and welcome, I'm DDF Racer, and today I'm going to be taking a look at something which is slowly transforming RaceRoom Racing Experience, the ranking system. Chances are that if you're watching this video, you're familiar with the iRacing format, whether you're an iRacer or not yourself. Now I know I said this video was about RaceRoom, but just bear with me one moment. iRacing is 99% about the online multiplayer racing experience, and because of the incredibly large number of people who iRace, because that's a legitimate verb, you can pretty much jump in or jump out of a session and race against real people, not the computer, whenever you want. It also comes with a rating system which takes into account your driving skill and safety on track, meaning you can compare yourself to the competition and get automatically grouped with other racers of a similar level should the races get split down into smaller grids. If you're into competitive online racing, then despite all the flaws with its netcode and very particular physics, iRacing is where it's at. No other sims even come close, but RaceRoom is trying something by developing its own ranking system. Now it's kind of snuck under the radar since it was introduced at the start of the year, so what exactly is it? Well, you're assigned a couple of statistics which define you as a driver compared to those around you: rating and reputation. By default, these start at a fixed value and change depending on your performance on RaceRoom's ranked servers. That's an important one, guys. Did you catch that? Your ranking is only affected on the official ranked servers. If you go racing on a private league or some public lobbies, then that does not affect your ranking. When you're scrolling through the multiplayer lobby, you can tell whether a server is ranked or not by this icon here, and also you can tick this box at the top of the screen to filter by ranked servers only. Now these servers aren't always available, and because this whole system is still being developed and revised pretty regularly, your best bet is to check on either the RaceRoom forums or the Discord server to see what the current schedule is. I put links in the video description below for both of those. At the moment, RaceRoom hosts a variety of specific car track combos for the duration of 1 week, with regular races at fixed schedules, usually with pairs of combos alternating between on the hour and half past the hour. New week, new combos. In addition to this, there is a one-off special event at the end of the week, with the race usually being over an hour long, and if enough people turn up, it'll get split into multiple divisions based on your rating score. So for those of you watching the video thinking, yeah, this rating system sounds like a good idea, but what's the point? Well, there you go. And this is only the early days. The devs have got some pretty awesome plans for more ways to integrate your rating directly into the game, but I'm not allowed to talk about any of that right now because of the whole non-disclosure agreement thing I may have signed with the devs. As far as the actual algorithm itself goes and how it works out who gains and who loses, it's a little bit of a trade secret that only the devs really know, but from what I understand, the basics of it are as follows. If you finish ahead of drivers with a higher rating than you, your rating goes up. However, the opposite applies too. If you get trashed by drivers with a lower rating than you, then your rating will drop. Over time, taking into account enough races, this will generally level itself out, so you'll end up finishing kind of where your rating says you will. With regards to your reputation, making it through qualifying and the race without any incidents should help you, although you can still gain rep if you have a few incidents, just you won't gain as much. The aim is to have as clean a race as possible. Different incidents carry different weights with regards to loss of reputation. Not entirely sure on the specifics, but car contact is obviously a lot less favourable than, say, track limit infringements. Also, rage quitting or abandoning a race once the session begins is a major no-no, even if you haven't lined up on the grid yet, as I found out the hard way. Look at these two dips in my reputation, and this is purely from me just sitting in the pits and missing the race. Now, there is no blame or judgment system, so if you're on the receiving end of a torpedo dive bomb and did absolutely nothing wrong, you get the instant points as well. This might seem a little bit odd and a little bit unfair, but it's so hard to develop an automated system which can fairly attribute who's at fault, and even if there was such a system, it could be easily manipulated by people who know how it works. The philosophy from the RaceRoom devs is that sharing incident points like this equally encourages people to actually learn true defensive driving instead of getting involved in crashes and then pointing the finger afterwards. It encourages you to be aware of the people around you, which is never a bad thing and really helps clean up the racing, actually. That said, disputes can be logged with RaceRoom on their forums and Discord server for clearly intentional dangerous driving. They have all the data, and anybody found to be wrecking other drivers on purpose or similar kind of behavior can actually be banned from the ranked servers. The interface for checking up on your rating and reputation, or anybody else's for that matter, is rather nicely laid out and is available directly on your RaceRoom profile, either on the web store or in-game. Just click on your profile from the top right drop-down menu, then the ranked multiplayer page right here, and then that's it. Your stats are along the top, your race history is down the left, and your progress over time can be seen in these handy little graphs on the right. And if you want even more detail, then you can actually click on any point on the graphs or on a specific session from the list on the left and load up the details where you can find out the results, incident points, and gains or losses from everybody in the session. And to take it even further, you can then click on anyone who took part in that session to check out their ranked multiplayer profile too. The sheer amount of data that's available is pretty impressive, and there's even an overall leaderboard where you can see the overall standings of everybody's combined ratings, along with the currently active servers and a player count. Although this part isn't actually directly integrated into your ranked RaceRoom profile yet, so I'll put a link to that in the description as well. It's worth pointing out very quickly that there is also an activity score. If you don't race for a while, it'll gradually drop from 5, which is the maximum, all the way down to 0, and when it gets there, you don't show up on the board anymore. Don't worry though, your stats are still saved, and all you have to do is go back on the servers, do a race or two, get your activity score up, and then you will be back on the board. So, in the most simple terms, all you need to do to get on the board and gain rating and ranking is stay out of trouble and do your best to finish ahead of as many people as you can, as regularly as you can. Sounds simple enough, but what is the actual quality of racing itself like? I mean, these ranked servers are essentially just glorified public lobbies, right? Well, yeah, but with consequences. I found that people drive a little more cautiously and leave that little bit of extra room compared to normal, probably because they know regardless of whether they're at fault or not, any incidents will lose them reputation and rating. Most of the issues I've had regarding contact are, to be honest, usually due to ping rather than bad driving. I'm based in Australia, which doesn't do me any favours when the majority of the RaceRoom user base is in Europe. That said, the way the game handles high pings is so much better than it has been previously. I mean, we don't have that bug anymore where lagging cars look like they're constantly locking up their brakes and filling up the track with smoke. But going wheel to wheel with someone on the other side of the world is still obviously going to be a little bit sketchy. The cars do jump and twitch around a little bit, so it's always best to give people just a little bit of extra space just in case you do get a lag spike and something goes wrong, as I found out the hard way.
Still there.
I see it, Mooney.
Clear on the left.
I'm sure you do, way back there.
Ping and lag issues aside, the car track combos that RaceRoom picks usually avoids the free-to-play content that the game is widely known for, which immediately removes a significant proportion of the bad drivers that you would normally be floating around. If you've ever tried the free content public lobbies, then yeah, you'll know what I mean. Chances are, if you've paid for the content, then you're more likely going to approach the whole thing a lot more responsibly. Which, let's not forget, is significantly cheaper than anything iRacing has to offer, and isn't a subscription-based model either. That said, there is no fee to get on the servers. Sorry, didn't I mention this already? Oh. No subscription, no additional cost. These RaceRoom ranked servers are completely free. If you own the car track combo, then away you go, join the session. Don't have to pay anything extra. Now, because this video isn't really about the game engine itself, the physics, the handling, that kind of thing, it's more so about the online side of things and the ranked servers, the reputation. I'm not going to go into detail about how it feels to drive or the characteristics of the car themselves, that kind of thing. There are quite a few videos out there which cover this separately, including this one I made a couple of years ago now, link on top of the screen. I should probably do a new one. It's been 18 months since I've made this. Anyway, back to the quality of racing. Sure, there's going to be idiots out there who could probably do with a few decent racecraft lessons, or people who have clearly never driven a lap of that particular circuit before, but you'll find those anywhere you race online. On the whole though, I've personally found the standards to be very good in RaceRoom, very respectful actually. It's been rare to have a questionable overtaking move pulled on me. Sure, there's going to be cheeky dive bombs here and there, but nothing too outlandish, and whenever I've tried pulling moves on other people, I've never really had my nose cut off or been pushed too wide or too hard. The level of competition does vary massively though, and depends entirely on who decides to turn up. chances are that you won't get a full server. More on that in a moment, and everybody from bottom rating to top rating will be in the same race, meaning there's going to be quite a difference in pace and field spread. On the rare occasion the server does get full, then it doesn't split. Max capacity is max capacity. You just have to pick another server or wait for some people to drop out for the next running. However, this does bring me nicely onto the biggest problem that the RaceRoom ranked servers currently face. Participation. Like I said, it's rare to find a full server, and unless a sim racing community specifically organises a time for everybody to go on the servers and go racing against each other, you're hardly going to find a full server. A quick look at the Steam chart shows that you can usually expect around 300 to 500 people using RaceRoom at any one particular moment, but don't forget that maybe some of these people are going to be driving offline, either practicing, setting times on the leaderboards, or doing a race against the AI. Also, for most of the time it's actually well below this number, with the number of simultaneous users only really peaking at 5 AM local time here for me in Australia, which further reinforces how Europe-centric the RaceRoom community is. Not great for my sleep schedule if I want to go and, have a full race. Now compare that to iRacing, where you can usually find thousands of people online at any one time, compared to just hundreds in RaceRoom. And yeah, sure, iRacing does have AI and practice mode, but realistically, the majority of those thousands will actually be out on track, on the servers, available to race. And the bigger the grids are, and the more competition there is, the more likely more people are going to join in and race too. It's one massive snowball effect. Servers which are more full are more likely to attract more people and get even more full, simply because of the crowd mentality and people wanting a nice full grid for the race. No one really wants to go on track when there's only 4 or 5 cars out there. Take a look at this video as a perfect example. You may have seen it before, but if not, I'll put a link in the video description. One random dude starts dancing on a hill at a music festival, and everybody kind of looks on awkwardly. And then someone gets up and joins in, clearly having an awesome time and just wanting to get in on whatever this dance is. And then someone else joins in. And then someone else. And then it kind of reaches critical mass and tips over to the point where everybody watching is now thinking, actually, that looks like a lot of fun. I need to get in there. And then, yeah, this happens. And all of a sudden, this is the only place anybody wants to be. For a rating system like the one that RaceRoom is trying to introduce, it actually needs people to be online and racing, especially outside Europe. It needs those few dancers on the side of the hill to start that wave, and then people will just join in. You'll get full servers, and the thing will pretty much run itself. That said, RaceRoom does actually need to give this whole ranking system some more purpose, as opposed to just bragging rights or a way of comparing your skill against another driver. It needs to have more meaning, why you should go and race on the ranked servers, basically. The one-off weekly special events are a really good way of actually putting this ranking system to good use, but yeah, there does just need to be some kind of incentive or motivation to actually go on the ranked servers. People need to be more aware of it as well. Most often than not, when I've done any racing with my subscribers, they didn't even know that they could track their rating and results. The whole system has never really been announced or promoted as a feature that well. Like I said earlier in the video, it's snuck under the radar for the majority of drivers, even those who are very familiar with RaceRoom. In addition to this, the combos can get a little bit stale sometimes. Sure, there's a few different combos to have a go at each week, but again, it completely depends on participation. And because it's the same cars and tracks all week, once you've done one race, that's kind of it. Think of it as maybe a double or maybe even a triple header, but once you get into the realms of 5 or 6 or 7 races over and over again, it could get a little bit tiresome. You're not going to want to do that all week. Although iRacing has a similar format with the same race on the hour throughout the week, there are usually a lot more than 3 or 4 options available. The races also stack over time in 12-week seasons, which accumulate points in the championships and also affect promotions, demotions, license types, that kind of thing, which in turn unlocks access to new cars. RaceRoom just doesn't have any of this at the moment. There's no championship seasons for the ranked servers, there's no license systems, there's no promotion, demotion classes, that kind of thing. Although to be fair, RaceRoom's content structure is completely different to iRacing's in that once you buy a car and a track and you have them in your library, you can go and race them whenever you want. But like I said earlier in the video, there are things in the works that I just can't talk about yet. Stay tuned. One other difference in RaceRoom compared to iRacing you'll notice immediately when you head out online on the track is the voice comms channel. There isn't one in RaceRoom. That's right, no random profanities and vented frustrations over the radio, or squealing kids for that matter. If you're racing in some kind of league or organised session with some friends, you're probably going to want to use either TeamSpeak or Discord so you can have a chat amongst each other, but as far as the official RaceRoom servers go, radio silence. There'll be no random abuse or flippant comments on the airwaves, but on the other hand, it also removes the opportunity to throw out a quick "sorry mate" to someone if you happen to give them an unintentional bump, or perhaps a bigger apology if you really mess up. This, however, in turn removes some of the toxicity surrounding RaceRoom. One of the most common complaints I hear about iRacing is how toxic the community can be sometimes. You know, you pay good money to go iRacing, both through subscription services and then purchasing the actual content on top of that. So understandably, people might get a little bit frustrated when they're involved in an incident. Quick challenge for you guys, go and watch any iRacing stream or iRacing video right now. Make it all the way through the first lap and come back and comment on this video. Let me know how many of those had swearing or some kind of anger on the first lap. Just prove me wrong. That kind of thing can really put people off, you know. I mean, after all, sim racing is meant to be fun. It's meant to be a hobby. Sure, we take it a lot more seriously and competitively than some of the more arcadey style racing games, but we don't do it to get caught up in the aggro. It's just not nice. People in iRacing can take it a little too seriously sometimes. And then, of course, people in RaceRoom can take it too seriously sometimes as well. It's just one of those things. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that people in RaceRoom are still swearing to themselves and at several others, but the difference here is it just doesn't get broadcast, and that makes a huge difference. Perhaps if the RaceRoom online ranked server racing crowd does get bigger, it could become a victim of its own success and just end up being iRacing's Swedish cousin. Based on their approach to the development of the sim and overall philosophy that Sector 3 have taken with the game so far though, I find that highly unlikely. They may be a comparatively smaller team and may not have the sim racing clout that iRacing carries, but the quality of content hiding underneath is easy to see once you realise it's there. RaceRoom doesn't get a lot of publicity for whatever reason, and most of the publicity that's out there is quite dated now, from a time when the reviews and general opinion of the game were a lot less favourable. And rightly so. RaceRoom has come a long way since it was initially released, from the physics to the damage model, the car track selection, and the incredible sound design. This ranking system is just another step towards the end goal of being the best all-round sim out there. I honestly can't wait to see how it develops. Whether or not you agree with me, whether there's something you'd want to add, or maybe you just want to point out something that I've got horribly wrong, which does happen quite a lot more often than I'd like to admit, then I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review, this ramble, whatever the hell this video was, I'm not actually sure what this turned out to be, then please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel to actually see me go racing on these ranked servers. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Look after yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you out on track real soon.